I'm Tim, the Brand Weaver, and this is Branding for Breweries, the podcast that helps you grow your brewery, build a better brand, and connect with more drinkers. Each week, I'm joined by the brightest minds in the beer world, sharing practical tips to help your brewery stand out and sell more beer. Let's get stuck in. What up, 24-hour party people? 'Tis I, Tim, the Brand Weaver, and you are listening to Branding for Breweries, the show, as the intro says, that brings the brightest minds from the brewing world directly into your eyeballs, your earballs, so you can get educated, learn more, and ultimately make lots more money for your lovely brewery by selling more and more beer in a wonderful, delightful way. And today is no exception. Like it never is for my show. It's always no exception because I always find the brightest minds for you. I've said it in the intro. I've said it again. I'm just repeating myself. Shut up, Tim. Get on with the show. Today, we are going to be chatting about subscription boxes and how to get your beer into the hands of other people via this mechanism. And I'm joined by the very talented, very knowledgeable, very well educated Mr. Olly Morgan, who is the co-founder or a co-founder of Brewser, the UK's leading brewery-first subscription platform. And we're going to be delving deep into the Brewser platform, but also just talking broadly about subscriptions and how you and your brewery can make the most of them. So without further ado, let's bring Olly into the chat and pick his brains. Olly,
how's it going?
How are you doing, buddy? You good?
I'm very well, thank you. Thanks for the intro. I don't know about bright brains fits my motive, but, I'll take it.
Dude, as we were talking offline, to grow a subscriber base of nearly 5,000 drinkers, that takes a bit of a brain behind you, man. So I think that's strong. Well done.
Thank you. No, thanks for having me on as well. It's I do listen to your podcast from time to time and see the videos pop up as well. So it's nice to be welcomed onto the show.
Exactly. Now you're part of the family, mate, the Branding for Breweries family. So I suppose, Olly, maybe for those people who are listening who aren't familiar with yourself or with the work that you do with Brewser, would you mind giving us a bit of outline as to your history and then the platform and the subscription process, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So my background has always been in brewing. From the age of about 13, actually, there's a little brew pub in my village, and I got a job there cleaning the tanks. I often say getting into all the spaces where the boss couldn't fit into, because a lot of it is cleaning, but it wasn't child labor quite like that. But
it's not child labor.
So I got in there kind of early, and then when I was about 17, this brewery had expanded, moved to different premises. I went knocking on the door again and asked for a job back. So they quickly trained me up to brew. I was like the first one employed outside of their family. And this was a traditional real ale-led brewery. I was there for about 10 years brewing, and then became like sales and marketing. I went on various trips across Australia and Canada where I worked in like craft beer bars and kind of got that love for the more sort of modern style of beer, and then founded Brewser in November 2021 with 3 other friends. So it's been quite a ride since. And for those who don't know about Brewser, do you want me to delve a little bit into that?
Dude, please do. Yeah. What makes Brewser a little bit special in comparison to other sub boxes out there?
Absolutely. So most sub boxes out there are built around like bulk buying and reselling whatever stock happens to be available. So Brewser flips that model on its head. So each month we are a marketplace platform. We'll work with about 20 or so different independent breweries from around the UK who will have a dedicated page on our platform. Now, our growing base of subscribers will get to choose who they want their brewery from. And that box of beer comes direct from the source. So we don't hold any stock. It's down to the breweries, what they put in the box. And it means the breweries can kind of send a beer out exactly how they want it to be represented, decide on what story gets told to represent their brand, and it allows the drinkers to build a genuine relationship with that brewery, experiencing their full range of beers.
Nice. I love the idea that they own it. It's instead of it going into a third party, it's like, no, this is your experience, this is your story to tell, so you crack on. So in that way, Bruce is more like a bridging mechanism or an introductory kind of part of the puzzle that brings more people to the brewery. Is that right?
Absolutely. Yeah, we're a connective layer in with all of this. Lewis articulates it, my other co-founder, a lot better than I. But rather than, in most sort of subscription boxes, or if you're going into shops or whatever to purchase your beer, you'll often just pick up one can off the shelf. And it's a bit like hearing one track off an album. What we do at Brewser is try and play the whole album and really get the customers to learn everything about that brewery.
Dude, I love that analogy. I've used the album side of things before as well, so great minds. So there's an obvious benefit for breweries with subscriptions, which is kind of like it's a rolling revenue side of things. But from your side of things, what are the other benefits of breweries having a subscription offering, be that in-house or with a third party such as yourself or any other provider out there?
Yeah, so there's a lot of it is exposure, right? And getting your name out there to a wider audience. From my time in the industry, it's a very competitive market, and it's difficult to, a lot of these breweries, especially ones we work with, might even be like one-man bands, and they don't have the marketing budget or the capability to sort of expand their reach further than their local diehard fans. So getting into boxes, whether that's Brewser or other sort of national subscriptions, helps you broaden that reach. But as you say, if you're doing your own subscriptions as well, it's building that loyal fan base, connecting with them on another level that you kind of can't by just doing one-off sales, and an opportunity to really tell your story to that audience like no other as well.
And so you mentioned that you work with like kind of one-man band breweries, as well as there are some big names on the Brewser list, of course. Is there a particular type of brewery that works best with the subscription model, or is it a case of as long as you can brew enough, anyone is worthwhile? It's worthwhile giving this a shot. It's
a good question, and ultimately, what we look for is a brewery that produces really, really great beer. That's what it's all down to. But as our boxes are a showcase of one brand, what we look for as well is that there's enough range within that box of beers. But of course, and I'm sure you've got questions on this later, it's not just about receiving a box of nice craft beers in the post. It's about the engagement that brewery gives to our subscribers, the stories that brewery can tell, the little added extras of personalized notes, of beer tastings, of all of this that also lands in the box, which helps just create a wonderful story about that brewery.
And so would you say those are the ones who kind of really see the best benefit from subscriptions, those who they don't just put your 9 cans or 10 cans or 12 cans in a box, they really make it an experience, that unpacking or that unboxing becomes something that people remember?
Yeah, absolutely. So we still today I'll receive boxes of beer and it's just got 9 cans or whatever in there, and that's brilliant, but you miss out on that opportunity to really connect and build long-term fan bases for your brewery there. So I always encourage breweries to sort of tell their story in the box, or to, do little back of house videos and tag us in it so we can share on our audience, or jump in on a forum, engage with our subscribers, say, I'm here, I'm from X brewery, we're featuring on Brewser this month. If you've got any questions or want to learn more about our beers, just, tag me, hit me up and ask. And it's just for a month, and that's where the opportunity and that really helps to increase volume of sales.
Yeah, especially if it is just a month versus like if a brewery does their own subscription, it's a rolling thing, it's month to month, but you can almost make a bit of a campaign around it, can't you, if you're featuring? Yeah. What if any are the misconceptions when it comes to like subscription boxes and things that you're kind of like, I hear that all the time, but it's just not the case?
Yeah, I guess there's 2 things probably that certainly from when we first started, maybe more from a consumer-led point of view, which was a big misconception, was, oh, you're a subscription, I'm never going to be able to get out of it. And that obviously is not the case with us, but more and more subscription services out there that are trying to build the best product that they possibly can. not to lock you in there so you can't escape, but that you won't want to leave. You know, giving you the best beer, the best quality product, and the best service they possibly can. The other misconception that you would hear, kind of again more back in the day from the brewery side, is that worried about it kind of devaluing their product going into a big audience. But it all depends on the model of subscription that you're going for, or the quality of that product as well, right? If that, how we do it at Brewser, we wanted to create a level playing field where we pay all of our breweries exactly the same, whether you're a big Northern Monk or you're a one-man band like Jack Barron from Barron Brewing. Everyone gets paid exactly the same, and it's down to the breweries what they provide in the box. They decide on the beers, they decide on the, you know, we have certain packaging standards and like ensuring that there's a value proposition there for our customers, but really it's down to the brewery to make that impact for the customer.
So if you put back on your working in a brewery hat for a minute, Olly, because like you said, you sales marketing, you were in the tanks, you were cleaning it out. But if you were in that position going, right, so we could do like our own subscription model, we've got Brewser there, we've got others who are part of this as well. How do you recommend like a brewery implementing like an internal subscription model, and maybe even leveraging something like Brewser as well? Because can they complement each other, or are they ready at different stages? Like, what's the best approach?
They absolutely can complement each other. So a lot of breweries that we work with will have their own subscription model, and Brewser plugs in nicely to that as a separate model. The thing with, we'll look at Brewser first, and that is, it's a different proposition, right? You're not subscribing to one brewery every single month. You're on this sort of exploration road to discovery and trying something new, and trying a brewery or a beer even that you would never even pick up off the shelf before. Now, Breweries' own subscriptions, where I have very little experience in, because what we offer is slightly different, but it's a great way to capture a recurring revenue from those sort of loyal diehard fans that, you know, want the freshest releases. They want exclusive discounts to events that you've gone on, or first access to those beers, or those like early tickets for taproom events and such you've got going on. And as I said before, just a great way to connect and build that community outside of your sort of physical space.
Yeah, as you're talking now, I was kind of thinking, actually, the two offers sit at different points in the funnel for a brewery when it comes to like Brewser's more your acquisition and awareness, like people going, oh, I've never heard of this brewery before, I've really wanted to try it. But then an internal brewery subscription, that's more of a loyalty thing. Like you've got them at that point, they're hooked in, and you're continuing to deliver on that promise and that experience. What are some of the best ways that you've seen breweries that you've worked with who've taken that initial discovery phase, they found them through Brewser, but then people have gone, oh, I love this, I've got to stick with it. Obviously, there's the quality of the beer, you know, we can almost put that to one side. You've got to have good beer, but how have breweries really made the most of that initial intro through Brewser to make it work for them long beyond that? Yeah,
I guess there's around that is some social advertising as well, social media advertising and stuff. If you come onto Brewser and Brewser are doing marketing you for that month, then you want to carry on that impact later on, kind of while the train's already rolling, jump on it and keep the momentum going and building. Obviously, through like GDPR and stuff, as Brewser, we wouldn't share any customer data with the breweries, but we certainly have seen breweries in the past include bits in their boxes, like either discount codes to their own online store, or asking them to share their feedback about the beers that they've had in the box, and maybe offering them some sort of incentive to scan a QR code, share the feedback about the beers and your experience with said brewery, to receive, I don't know, little bit of a discount or entered into a competition. That way, it's always good to make the customer do something as well, because then they feel even more part of the brand and part of the family. So multiple ways like that.
Yeah, that kind of, what's the next step? Always be prompting them for, you've enjoyed this, now do this, or give this a pop. And you start the conversation that way. And do Brewser just focus on keg, or is it keg and cask? Like, is it only cans, or?
Only cans.
Only cans.
I know we do bottles as well.
Okay.
But it's any range of small pack.
Okay.
That people have. So because we're direct from brewer to consumer, we don't do any trade, not necessarily in the plans to yet either. But we do modern. We've experimented this month with some more traditional breweries as well, which has been interesting. And I love real ale, so it's been good to see what the uptake is on that. But we generally have quite a broad selection from hoppy IPAs to your mixed firm sour saisons. So you could be getting, 10 or 12 cans in a Brewser box, or you might just be getting sort of 2 750ml bottles.
Okay. So that, as you say, it goes down to the brewer's choice to what they put in there. And from what you've seen in trends and stuff, you guys have been running for several years now. So could you quite confidently go this is the best kind of mixed box that we've seen go out that seems to get the most traction, it gets the most kind of pull from people?
It's an interesting one. We've built a really strong community that kind of, as I said to you before offline, that we've done very well at capturing the core craft beer market, the beer geeks like you and I, or those that are listening to this platform. And to really grow the business, we need to sort of expand our reach and beyond that market into those curious craft explorers that have had maybe a Brewdog or a Beavertown before. And I think those two audiences are very different in what they perceive as a really good box of beer. Whiplash, a brewery from Ireland, did a box with us probably, maybe 10 months or so ago. And they went to town on the dippers. They put 5 dippers in there. And we sold loads of them. And that's because our subscriber base generally seemed to like the higher ABV beers. But I would say even in a year, that trend has probably changed slightly as well. I know I'm not drinking quite as many dippers and that these days. I love them, but it's a drink that I'd like to share with a couple of friends rather than have a whole can to myself. So I think also the beers that we know sell the best are those IPAs and pale beers, and they're kind of on the hoppier. But there's certainly a market there for the weird and the wonderful, and the stouts and sours and the porters and something a bit wacky too. We've done boxes before that have the biggest range of beers possible, and we've done boxes that solely focus on IPAs and pales. And for our market, there's I think there's an audience that is equal to all of that, but we also have a broad range of boxes on the platform at any one time. It's not like we're selling 2 or 3 different boxes in a month.
Sure. And with the variety of breweries that you have and the rolling range, and we'll talk about you've unleashed Brewser 2.0, so we can dig into that in a minute. But do you see subscribers and buyers getting the same brewery more than once, or because of their beer nerdy collector things, are they kind of one and done kind of people?
Yeah, we definitely see customers going back to breweries. So if that brewery is come on, whether that's if they've come on for a month or if they're one of our resident breweries, one of our core lineup, as long as the brewery has impressed them, they'll definitely be repeating and going back to them. I think this model. Shall I go into the model just very briefly?
Please do. Well, you've hinted at it. You've teased us. You said the word model, and you'd be like, we're not going to talk about it, though. No, dude, what's the model?
Right. So the way we used to operate, the old Brewser, we'd have, every time I brought a new brewery onto the platform, they'd have to be available 12 months of the year, and they'd always have to keep stock and ensure that they have a good range of products for a Brewser box. So we ended up with about 120 breweries on our platform. That was great. It meant loads of choice, but it also meant a hell of a lot of work sort of back house for us with processing all the orders, because we're taking care of all the logistics, customer service, etc. But it also created a bit of a barrier to entry, especially to those people that were like craft curious, and you kind of jumped onto the Brewser website and you see 120 logos, you just don't know where to begin. So now with this new model, we've stripped things back. We have 7 resident breweries that are available 12 months of the year, and they're your sort of Verdant, Beaks, Dares, etc. And then we have a rotating list of about 15 or so different breweries that will come on. So what was your question again?
So we're going to talk about the 2.0 side of things. I just got so lost in the offer side of things. Let's carry on with the 2.0 conversation and how the structure has changed. It will come back to me in a minute. But so you've got a smaller amount of kind of resident breweries, and then that rotating range. Is that every month that you've got a different set in?
Yeah, exactly. So the residents remain the same 12 months of the year, and the rotating breweries, guest breweries, we can call them. It's kind of like your core and seasonal lineup if you're a brewery. Those guest beer breweries or seasonal breweries will rotate every single month. So we may feature them on for a month, and depending on how well they perform with customer engagement, feedback that we're getting, volume of boxes sold, depends on how frequently we'd like to showcase them on the platform.
And talk to me about like a good relationship with yourselves, which, because I can't imagine, it must be similar to other subscription boxes as well, but like beyond the good beer and the good range, what do you need from a brewery to really help reflect it as best as it can be? Because you shoot the photography and stuff as well, don't you?
Yeah, we shoot the photography in-house with Ash. So day-to-day Brewser operates with just 2 of us. So we're quite a small team, a lot smaller than people would think. But content is what I always say. And see it, share it, sorted. So so breweries that are doing little back of house videos, they may shoot videos for us to explain, kind of do the backstory of the brewery, like what's they're excited for our subscribers to try in their box that month, and they send all that content into us, and we can share via our own platforms, or they can tag us on their own socials, and then we can share that as well. But it's all about getting in people's faces and ears as much as possible, really, and them seeing your brand and engaging with our subscribers. We've got a forum called Planet Brewser, where we'd love breweries to kind of jump on there and introduce themselves and help answer any questions. We've got an audience that's thirsty, but also thirsty for knowledge as well. So yeah, it's good for them to engage.
God, that was a cheesy line, but I loved that one.
There's a couple of cheesy ones in there, wasn't there?
Okay, so if we kind of like break this down a little bit then. So there is, of course, like having a great range of beers, good quality, great range of beers. There's making sure that, the subscription platform has the cannon fodder in many ways to help engage and push it as much as possible. There's then the packaging experience. So it's not just a range of cans, bottles in a box. What else is in there? What do you do to like surprise and delight, I suppose, in that particular way? The idea of asking the drinker to do something else, what's next from that? What else is there in that? Like how to like cultivate the relationship and almost hope for that next purchase. You said like if you've made a good first impression, That's got to be part of it. But there are other bits of the puzzle that I'm missing in terms of like the ecosystem of making the most out of a subscription platform.
Yeah, I mean, what we try to say to breweries, when you come on Brewser, we want you to own this, and we're a small team, and we're flexible, and we're up for experimenting and trying sort of anything you want to do. Last month or the month before, we had Blunt Rock on. I think it was last month as our Discovery Brewery of the Month. And what they did to really capitalize on the opportunity was they hid golden and silver and tickets within the Brewser boxes. So we launched a big competition, a big campaign where customers who purchased their box could win, various prizes if they received one of these tickets in their boxes.
That's cool.
They also, wanted to bring people into their tap room. So they included a free half pint or a free pint or something for everybody that got one of their boxes. And that's getting people to your own premises, seeing the brewery for themselves, and one free pint in the tap room. And then I'm sure they'll be spending a lot more money in there as well, but getting the experience, right? Some of the prizes they gave away was extra boxes of beer, and I think they gave away like a night stay in Cornwall. But that's been one of our most successful campaigns going. And I love it when breweries come to the table with ideas like that. We're always open ears to different things.
And what about kind of more? Do you work with breweries on seasonal boxes? Like, for example, we've got Halloween coming up, right? Has anyone ever come to you and pitched the spooky 8-pack box, or they've got the pumpkin spice jobbies and ghoulish flavors and whatever's going on?
Yeah, themed boxes work really well for us. We did have a brewery come to us and wanted to do a Halloween box, but we're doing a big feature for them in December anyway. So I don't like to feature breweries. I like to have kind of a 3 months gap or 4 month gap in between their feature. But another reason for moving to this new model is before we just had, 120 breweries to choose from. You didn't know what you'd be getting in the box. It just kind of had generic text. But now each box that we have on the platform, the beers are listed on there. And we like to do a theme around that box as well. So whether that's celebrating a brewery's birthday, or Andy at Elusive brewed 3 different beers with 3 different yeast strains. So it's the same base beer for everyone, but there's a different yeast to show how the yeast profile affects the flavor. So there's a whole, array of opportunities that are out there for experimenting with different things like that.
I love that bit. I think we were talking about it offline, that kind of the experiential beer stuff, and how do you pull that new market in. And I think a lot of that, introducing the different hop flavors and, this is a comparison and so on, could be very, very cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So that makes so much sense. I suppose if you look forward for Brewser, and we see how breweries are evolving and how the tastes are changing for the craft beer market, what do you see like a little bit further down the line? Like, what are you hoping is going to happen? Is it going to stay very similar? Is there an evolution on the cards?
With Brewser or with the industry?
Both.
Yeah. Industry-wise, we're seeing like this. A lot of brewers now going into the no and low space, which is really cool to see. And there's some like amazing alcohol-free beers out there now on the market, which is great. I think that there's craft beers. There's this thing with the younger generation aren't drinking as much as a lot of people say out there, but what they're into is quality. So people are always going to spend money on quality. So I don't always just aim for producing the best possible beers that you can out there. In terms of Brewser, we've got some things on the cards. We really want to just absolutely kind of nail down the UK craft beer market and ensure we've got that singing, dancing, and to the best of our ability. And then, we can explore kind of using our model into different countries and stuff like that. But also we've worked with like Little Pomona and bringing in cider onto the platform. I think there's opportunity for us to try different drinks brands as well, and kind of have a little, little bit of a left field box on there to try something else that's within the beer scene, like the sort of ciders that we've got there. That is something just a little bit different.
Dude, I love that. That's very cool. And yeah, I couldn't agree more. Like, kind of the evolution on people focusing on quality over quantity, you know, and kind of that, the changing and shifts into what you have with the low no consumption as well, more focus on well-being and whatnot.
And so, it's funny, I speak to quite a few breweries, and something that's happened the last few conversations I've had is breweries that have focused a lot more on volume and just getting beer into, I don't know whether that's supermarket or like other channels, but then they lose the interest of the core craft beer community, which really are the sticky consumers that keep you going. So it's a funny one. It's a fine balance of ensuring that you've got enough seasonal and specials out to keep the interest going, and in some respects keep those untapped scores up as well, because consumers do care about that, whether we love it or we hate it. It's something which is measured, but also producing enough volume that you're getting the sort of scales of economy and able to get enough volume out the door. So there's a bit of balancing act.
Yeah, and that's one question, I suppose. So, like you mentioned, that you wouldn't want to repeat a brewery at least every month or something, unless it's a house brewery. But does that brewery then have to come back to you and go, Ollie, it's okay, we've got a different 8 to 12 beers now that we can put in the box? Or do they have to keep on producing new and different, or is a core range suitable?
A balance of core and specials. Yeah, if we were just putting like core beers out every time, then we wouldn't be interested. So there's breweries that will say it's our birthday coming up in this month, but also in March next year we've got a selection of New Zealand hopped beers that we're releasing that will work really well in your box. Or so we can plan out kind of a year in advance, as long as there's something that we can focus on for marketing and advertising and theme the box around something that's going to generate a bit of interest. Then there's always a space. And
what is that kind of time frame? So if a brewery came to you and we went, we've got this, this is what we can offer right now, versus this isn't a brewery who does a year's worth of planning and knowing what they're doing 9 months down the line. Let's avoid that one. But we've got a good box. Like, how quickly does that relationship turn into it potentially featuring on the Brewser website?
I'm just looking at my calendar now, and I've got October 2026. I've got 8 breweries lined up for a year's time.
Wow.
So, but then there's gaps in certain months, or I may have a brewery in 1 month, and then when it gets to it, they can't do it anymore because they've lost beer in a tank, or a chiller's gone, or so it's always just worth having the conversation and getting something in the diary. But there's spaces throughout the year, and that 10 to 15 of rotating breweries each month. If there's a compelling offer, that can go up to 18 to 20, or it can go, down
a bit of wiggle room
or whatever. So it's flexible.
Nice. Well, Ollie, this has been a really interesting conversation, mate. Thank you for. I know I've asked some questions which have put you out of the Brewser space, but it's intentional. I've got to get a good perspective on this. But I suppose if I've got a couple of people who are listening now or later, and they go, well, actually, Brewser could be a good shout for what we're doing. What's the process? How do they go about? Do they reach out to you? Is there somewhere on the website? Like, what's the steps that someone takes?
Yeah. So I am I look after the brewery, so I predominantly focused on brewery relations. That's why I may have struggled with some of the marketing questions. So yeah, do reach out to me if you're a brewery. My email address, it's Olly, that's OLLY, @brewser.beer. Just drop me a note. I'm a guy that's kind of old school, love to pick up the phone and have a phone call conversation as well. So we just have a chat, see what you have to offer. We usually do kind of monthly tastings with the team, but also friends or family or whatever, to an audience of different kind of involvement within craft beer. Some that say they may not even like it, but it's really interesting to get their perspectives on the different breweries that we bring on board. So we usually start with getting feedback from there and then get the breweries locked in.
Very cool. So just an email. An email is how this could all begin for any breweries listening out there. Love it, mate. Well, Olly, mate, once again, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. I really appreciate it. And there's definitely been some great stuff that came out of this chat that I'm sure people will be looking into. So everyone, thank you so much for tuning in this afternoon if you're listening live. And for those of you listening in the future, this is Tim talking to you from the past. As always, thank you for listening. You rock, and I'll see you on the other side, people. That's a wrap on this week's episode of Branding for Breweries. If you got something great from it, hit follow, like, and subscribe on your favorite streaming app. Or even better, leave a review, share it with your brewery pals, or get in touch, because I want to chat to you. Rock on!